Italian America. Mafia, culture, and the struggle for recognition. Imagine a world where the aroma of freshly baked bread mingles with the echoes of whispered secrets in dimly lit alleyways. A world where art and crime, tradition and rebellion, intertwine to shape a unique identity. This is the story of Italian America, a tale of immigrants seeking a new life, battling prejudice, and leaving an indelible mark on a young nation. But did you know that while the Mafia became a notorious symbol, the true legacy of Italian Americans lies in their resilience, culture, and contributions to every facet of American life? Let's dive into a journey that traverses time, from humble beginnings to cultural triumphs. Chapter 1. The First Waves, Dreams Carried Across the Atlantic. The journey of Italians to America stretches far beyond the wave of immigrants that surged in the late 19th century, reaching back to the 18th century when Italy's adventurous spirits first set sail for the New World. Among these early pioneers was Filippo Mazzi, a visionary Florentine physician who would leave a lasting mark on American history. Mazzi, a close friend of Thomas Jefferson, played an essential role in shaping the ideals of the American Revolution, advocating passionately for the idea of liberty. His influence is often credited with helping to shape the famous line, "All men are created equal." Mazzi's contribution stands as a testament to the profound intellectual and cultural exchange between Italy and America, one that would continue as Italians sought both refuge and opportunity in the American landscape. But it wasn't until the tumultuous decade of the 1860s that the migration of Italians to the United States truly escalated. This period marked the unification of Italy, a process known as the Risorgimento, which brought with it significant political and economic instability. Southern Italians, particularly from regions like Sicily, Calabria, and Campania, were hit hardest. Their lives were steeped in poverty, ravaged by devastating natural disasters, and bound by a feudal system that left them at the mercy of aristocratic landowners. Against this backdrop, America shone like a beacon of hope, a land offering freedom, opportunity, and the chance for a better life. Did you know that by the year 1880, more than 70% of Italian immigrants to the United States hailed from the southern regions of Italy? This migration was largely to bustling ports such as New York, which would become the gateway for millions of newcomers, and New Orleans, a city that became a melting pot of cultures. These immigrants arrived with little more than the dreams and traditions they carried with them, and settled in close-knit neighborhoods, known as Little Italies, where they could preserve their heritage and share their customs. In these communities, Italian dialects flourished, and the smell of homemade pasta and pizza would soon become an aromatic part of the American fabric. However, the lives of these early Italian immigrants were far from the ideal they had envisioned. The promise of prosperity in the land of opportunity was often met with harsh realities. The newcomers found themselves toiling in grueling and dangerous conditions, working in the mines, on railroad construction, or in factories. Discrimination was rampant, and Italians were frequently treated as second-class citizens. One of the darkest moments of this era occurred in 1891 in New Orleans, where 11 Italian immigrants were wrongfully lynched. The men had been accused of assassinating the city's police chief, but despite a trial that resulted in acquittals, a mob took matters into its own hands. The tragedy marked one of the largest mass lynchings in American history and reflected the deep-rooted prejudice that Italian immigrants faced. Despite the severe challenges, the Italian immigrant community demonstrated remarkable resilience. Over time, the spirit of these new Americans remained unbroken. They built strong, vibrant communities where cultural traditions thrived. The Feast of San Gennaro, celebrated annually in New York's Little Italy, became a grand manifestation of this enduring heritage. The festival, still celebrated today, showcased the exuberant blend of music, food, and religious rituals that were a hallmark of Italian culture. It would not be long before these cultural contributions began to seep into the broader American consciousness, reshaping the nation's identity in ways that continue to be felt today. Chapter 2. The Rise of the Mafia and the Birth of a Stereotype. As the immigrant tide from Italy surged into the United States during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Italian communities began to settle in the urban melting pots of New York, Chicago, and Philadelphia. It was in these bustling, crime-ridden cities, rife with poverty and corruption, that the shadow of organized crime began to take hold. The term mafia, once rooted in the secluded hills of Sicily, made its way to American shores, carrying with it the echoes of secret societies like La Cosa Nostra, an enigmatic criminal network built on codes of silence, loyalty, and blood oaths. These Sicilian traditions flourished in the New World, taking root in immigrant neighborhoods where crime was often seen as a way to survive. Among the most infamous figures of this criminal ascent was Giuseppe Morello, dubbed the clutch hand due to the deformity of his right hand, which he used to his advantage in both intimidation and disguise. Morello's rise marked the beginning of the American Mafia's deep entrenchment in urban life. Operating out of New York's Lower East Side, he masterminded a range of illicit activities, from counterfeiting operations to violent rackets, targeting local businesses and competing gangs. His criminal empire, built on cunning and brutality, set the stage for future mobsters, and his influence reverberated across the country. Morello's actions were instrumental in solidifying the Mafia's presence in American society, while setting a dangerous precedent that would fuel its expansion in the decades to come. This era also gave rise to one of the most influential figures in the history of organized crime, Charles "Lucky" Luciano. Luciano, often credited with reshaping the Mafia into a more structured and centralized enterprise, would go on to form the Commission, a governing body that would control Mafia operations nationwide. His strategy of cooperation among rival families and the establishment of territorial agreements was revolutionary, laying the foundation for the Mafia's enduring power in America. Luciano's legacy would go on to influence not just organized crime, but the very culture of the American underworld itself. But amidst the rising tide of organized crime, it is important to note that the vast majority of Italian Americans had no involvement in the Mafia. Despite the stereotype of the Mafia man being synonymous with Italian immigrants, most sought to build new lives, contributing to American society through hard work and community building. In fact, many within the Italian-American community stood in firm opposition to the Mafia's influence. They fought to distance themselves from the negative associations and worked tirelessly to overcome the prejudices thrust upon them by the media and society at large. It was a struggle for recognition not only of their immigrant roots but of their legitimate contributions to American culture. Hollywood, however, would not let the allure of the Mafia fade. Films like The Godfather and Goodfellas cemented the Mafia as an indelible part of Italian-American identity in popular culture. These movies, with their dramatic portrayals of loyalty, betrayal, and violence, glorified the complex code of honor that the Mafia operated by. However, they also reinforced the stereotypes that painted all Italian Americans with the same criminal brush. The cinematic lens through which America viewed its Italian immigrant population became skewed, overshadowing the many achievements and contributions of the community, leaving behind a narrative that still lingers in the public consciousness today. The image of the Mafia, both villainous and captivating, would define generations of Italian Americans and shape how they were seen in the broader American landscape. Chapter 3. The Struggle for Acceptance and Cultural Integration. The mid-20th century was a time of profound transformation for Italian Americans, as they navigated the delicate balance between assimilation and cultural preservation. Following the harrowing realities of World War II, when over 500,000 Italian Americans served in the armed forces, the United States experienced an economic boom. This period of prosperity offered Italian Americans newfound opportunities for upward mobility and acceptance into mainstream American society. Their valiant contributions during the war, marked by both sacrifice and bravery, began to shift the public's perception. No longer viewed solely through the lens of their immigrant roots, Italian Americans earned recognition for their patriotism, challenging the stereotypes that had long plagued them. Fiorello LaGuardia, the charismatic mayor of New York City from 1934 to 1945, exemplified the changing tide of Italian-American integration. Known as the Little Flower for his tireless fight against corruption and commitment to social reform, LaGuardia broke barriers by becoming a symbol of Italian-American political power. His tenure saw significant improvements in housing, education, and labor rights, positioning him as a progressive figure who represented not only the interests of New Yorkers but also the potential of Italian Americans to shape the nation's future. His leadership highlighted the potential for Italian Americans to contribute positively to the political and social fabric of America, defying earlier prejudices that painted them as outsiders. The post-war era also ushered in a cultural renaissance, where the contributions of Italian-American artists, musicians, and performers began to be celebrated on the national stage. Icons like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Tony Bennett rose to fame, captivating audiences with their smooth vocals and magnetic presence. Their music, which beautifully blended Italian passion with the cool rhythms of American jazz, became a soundtrack to the American dream, allowing Italian Americans to see their heritage reflected in the nation's popular culture. Meanwhile, the culinary landscape underwent a transformation, with Italian cuisine making its mark on the American palate. Pizza, once a niche dish from Naples, exploded in popularity, becoming a symbol of American comfort food. Pasta, espresso, and other Italian staples also made their way into American kitchens, creating a deep culinary connection between the two cultures. However, the path to full acceptance was not without its shadows. Despite the growing cultural influence of Italian Americans, the stereotype of the Mafia continued to cast a long and dark shadow over their public image. The infamous Appalachian Meeting of 1957, where law enforcement uncovered a secret gathering of top Mafia figures, further cemented the association between Italian heritage and organized crime. This high-profile event reignited fears and reinforced existing biases, painting a picture of Italian Americans as being tied to criminal activity. The media's sensationalized portrayal of these events, often centered around notorious figures like John Gotti and Vito Genovese, fueled the stereotype that Italian Americans were inherently linked to the underworld. The duality of Italian American identity during this era, caught between the desire for cultural integration and the persistent weight of Mafia associations, defined much of the Italian American experience, as they continued to fight for recognition as both proud Americans and proud Italians. As Italian Americans forged ahead, they faced the delicate task of navigating these conflicting forces, striving to embrace their heritage while breaking free from the constraints of outdated stereotypes. Their journey, marked by both triumphs and struggles, played an integral role in shaping the multicultural landscape of post-war America. Chapter 4. Redefining Identity and Legacy. As the 20th century drew to a close, Italian Americans began to reclaim their narrative, emphasizing their cultural contributions and challenging the stereotypes that had long defined them. The civil rights movements of the 1960s and 70s inspired Italian Americans to assert their identity with pride, celebrating their heritage while advocating for broader societal acceptance. The March for Equality, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., resonated with the Italian American community, as they too had faced discrimination, though in a different form. The struggles for civil rights were not just a fight for African Americans, but a rallying cry for all marginalized groups, prompting Italian Americans to question the labels that society had placed on them. In cities across the United States, Italian Americans began organizing cultural events that celebrated their history and achievements. Festivals like the Feast of San Gennaro in New York, a tradition that had started in the early 20th century, grew in popularity, becoming a symbol of both religious devotion and cultural pride. These public celebrations of Italian heritage allowed for the community to connect, educate the broader population, and slowly shift the conversation from one of crime to one of art, innovation, and tradition. Academia and literature played a crucial role in this transformation. Scholars like Maria Lorino and authors such as Gay Talese explored the complexities of Italian American identity, offering nuanced perspectives that went beyond the Mafia trope. Talese's iconic work, Honor Thy Father, delved into the intricacies of Italian American life, moving beyond sensationalism to portray the dignity and challenges of a community caught between two worlds. Lorino's writings, including Were You Always Italian?, bridged the gap between generations, tracing the personal journey of Italian Americans while highlighting the tensions and triumphs of assimilating into American society. Did you know that Italian Americans have made significant contributions to science and technology as well? Enrico Fermi, a physicist of Italian descent, was instrumental in the development of the first nuclear reactor and won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1938. His groundbreaking work laid the foundation for advancements in nuclear energy and medicine. Fermi's achievements are a testament to the intellectual depth and far-reaching influence of Italian Americans in fields often overshadowed by stereotypes. Other Italian American figures, such as physicist Robert C. Giacconi, who won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2002, and astronaut Luca Parmitano, have continued to break boundaries in science, demonstrating the community's profound impact on global progress. Today, Italian Americans continue to shape the cultural landscape of the United States. From fashion icons like Donatella Versace, who revolutionized the fashion industry with bold designs that combined elegance with edginess, to political leaders like Nancy Pelosi, who became the first woman to serve as Speaker of the House of Representatives, their influence is felt in every corner of American life. The arts, politics, business, and sports, Italian Americans have left their mark in a multitude of areas, proving that their legacy is multifaceted. Their stories are a testament to the perseverance and ingenuity that have defined the American experience. Festivals, museums, and cultural organizations celebrate the enduring legacy of Italian immigrants, ensuring that their stories are preserved for future generations. Institutions like the Italian American Museum in New York City and the National Italian American Foundation continue to promote cultural understanding, offering exhibitions and programs that highlight the contributions of Italian Americans across a broad spectrum of industries. These initiatives not only preserve the rich history of the community but also provide a platform for new generations of Italian Americans to take pride in their roots. While the Mafia remains a part of the narrative, it no longer defines the Italian American experience. Instead, it serves as a reminder of the challenges faced and overcome by a community that has contributed immeasurably to the fabric of American society. The evolution of Italian American identity is a testament to the resilience of a people who have long been misunderstood but have ultimately triumphed in reshaping their image, contributing to the vibrancy and complexity of the United States. Their story is one of redemption, achievement, and the unshakable belief in the power of cultural pride. The story of Italian America is one of resilience, innovation, and cultural richness. It is a story that transcends the shadows of organized crime, revealing a community that has fought for recognition and made invaluable contributions to every aspect of American life. From the bustling streets of Little Italy to the grand stages of Hollywood, from the halls of academia to the kitchens of family homes, Italian Americans have left an indelible mark on the nation. As we reflect on this journey, we are reminded that identity is multifaceted and ever-evolving. The legacy of Italian America is not just about the struggles and stereotypes but also about the triumphs and traditions that continue to inspire and enrich the American experience. And in that legacy, we find a story worth celebrating, a story of dreams carried across the Atlantic, woven into the very fabric of a nation. And that's it, thanks for watching. If you enjoy exploring historical worlds, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more exciting stories.